Hi guys, so while we don't have exact figures for the numbers attending the Unite the Kingdom march, it's believed to be in excess of 100,000. Now, people were marching, according to them, in favour of free speech. Some people were marching against Keir Starmer, against Islam, against immigration, and of course Tommy Robinson was there as well. Now, is this protest going to work? Well, the simple answer is no, and I'll explain why in just a moment.
There's a lot of people here. I think that's the main takeaway. There's a lot of flags. We're about to run into some of them earlier, and we've spoken to a lot of, they've come from all over the country, really. Everyone we've spoken to is very keen to say they wouldn't agree with the characterization of the stand-up to racists. They would say they're not far right, they're not racist, they are patriotic, and the main topic, people talking about free speech a lot of the time, people talking about Charlie Kirk, who was murdered last week, but we've also heard a lot about anti-illegal immigration. A lot of people saying they don't mind migration, but they're anti-illegal migration, especially when it comes to things like boats crossing the channel. So what's happened now is that we've come all the way down there. Tommy Robinson and his sort of throng that is down there. We're now by the Cenotaph here in central London. There's a giant screen over this way. I'll see if we can just show you around it. That's where there's going to be speeches on this theme of free speech. It is, as we've been talking about down, this quite amorphous sort of topic. It's a free speech rally, but this is also about protecting British heritage, as they say, about protecting British values. A lot of British flags here, you can see them, a lot of English flags, all sorts of flags from Leeds, flags from Lancashire, from Yorkshire, all over the country. People really have made the big journey to be here. They've seen a bit of Tommy, and the applause he gets is, fairly rapturous, I would say. He's got a lot of support. They're going to go on that stage and they're going to hear those speeches. Now, the idea is this finishes by 6 p.m. That's when the sort of dispersal order comes into effect. We're being kept away from the stand-up to racism, that counter-protest, much smaller protest out there, because this really does stretch back. Tens of thousands of people, probably the most out of any Tommy Robinson rally that I've carried. You can hear the chants behind me. There's a real carnival spirit. But so far, it's worth saying, those calls for it to be a peaceful demonstration, for a family to come along, that has been respected. We haven't seen face masks, we haven't seen any violence so far firsthand. This is a big march, I may have missed some things, but this crowd now filling in here, they're going to listen to speeches. We are going to be reporting on those speeches, see what the theme of this is today, because you'll hear chants like that, we want our country back. It's not specified exactly how, it means different things to different people, but that is the sort of sentiment you get here. This is a huge, patriotic as they would put it, nationalistic as other people would put it, crowd gathered here in the centre of London to support Tommy Robinson.
Okay, so as I said at the beginning, this is not going to work. It's not going to work for a number of reasons. First of all, they don't have one particular message that they're going with. Some people are talking about, I want my country back. Others are saying, we want to stop Keir Starmer, we want to replace him, we want a general election. Other people saying they support Tommy Robinson. Others are against Islam. Others are against immigration in general. There was a mention there of protecting British heritage and British culture and British values. So it's a mix mash of a lot of different things, all marching together. So there isn't one coherent message. But the bigger point is that protests don't work, unfortunately. Fortunately, maybe in this case, but unfortunately also, protests don't work. We've seen it before. 500,000 people marched against Brexit. Brexit still happened. People are marching all the time against what's happening in Palestine. It's not making any difference. I'm not saying that people shouldn't march. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be angry and express that anger through marching, but it doesn't make any difference. Over 25 years ago, almost 25 years ago, I marched against the war in Iraq. It didn't make any difference. Back in 2003. People all over the world marched against the war in Iraq. It didn't make any difference. So protests don't make any difference. Now, what's interesting about this one is there were a lot of people there. It's believed to be in excess of 100,000. Tommy Robinson was there, but Nigel Farage was not. Nigel Farage did not take advantage of this situation for some reason. If he had appeared, he would have been cheered, but maybe because Tommy Robinson was there, he didn't want to get involved. Or because Nigel Farage doesn't want to see Reform as the party of protest. He doesn't want to see, he saw how the media and other politicians looked at Labour as a party of protest, and it didn't succeed. So he doesn't want to see reform anymore as a party of protest, but as a party of government. So that's probably one of the reasons why Nigel Farage is not there. But also, a protest like this, if it does get out of hand, Nigel Farage doesn't want to be associated with it. And there were incidents where police officers were injured, and there were scuffles and something close to rioting, actually. So there is a situation where politicians will get involved if they think they can take advantage of the situation. But I think in Nigel Farage's case, he doesn't want to be associated with this at all. But once again, these protests don't work. They don't really achieve anything. People are angry, they march in the street, and they vent that anger. Now, what these people do after is important. What political parties they back is important. But if you have 100,000 people marching for a dozen different reasons, it's going to be very difficult to coordinate some sort of anger into political power. That's one of the reasons why Tommy Robinson is not running for Parliament or running to be the leader of a party, because he understands that while his rhetoric may be popular with some people, it's not popular with the entire country. So yes, 100,000 people turned up. A lot of people are angry for very many reasons, but this does not represent change. It's going to have pretty much no impact on the government's decision-making, political parties' decision-making. As we've seen before, with reasonable protests, the impact is very minimal. The real impact you have is on MPs. If you're able to convince MPs to vote a particular way through organised email writing or something like that, then you're going to have an impact.